Welcome to Clause 8, the #1 podcast on intellectual property, trusted by top in-house counsel, judges, and policymakers worldwide. Hosted by Eli Mazour, we bring you in-depth conversations with the personality shaping IP. Brought to you by Tradespace, where ideas take flight.
So today we're lucky to be joined by Doug Pittman, somebody who we've had some friendly battles over the years, some banter. And I got to know Doug when he's a serial entrepreneur, and I got to know him as he was enforcing his patents in a long-running patent litigation. I got him to know that time. He reached out to me, had a lot of thoughts. But more recently, something interesting happened where the attorney who was leading that effort, helping him lead that effort, John Squires, became the USPTO director. And I found that out actually because of Doug, because Doug was told me he was helping him in that effort to become the USPTO director. Doug, thank you so much for joining Clause 8.
Thank you for allowing me to come, and I appreciate the invite. I don't do this much, but you're a special guy. You're a fighter like me, and I like to help people. So I'll be glad to open up and try to give you some insight.
Well, that's great. I appreciate that. We're recording in DC, and you drove up your truck from Georgia for this, and but you mentioned that you actually met with you were at the USPTO. You met with John Squires. Before we get into your story, any impressions from that? Anything new that you heard?
Yeah, I mean, when me and John meet or talk or on the phone or whatever, we always have some pretty good in-depth conversations. I mean, there's been quite a few times where John's told me, Doug, you've lost your mind. And that's okay. We have some really, really good conversations, and I don't expose anything that when we communicate, text, stuff like that. I don't really expose any of that because we've got some what you call deep secrets, and I just try to help him. Yeah,
but maybe like anything about what the patent office is focused on and where they're going.
Well, John is when he first started. He got the nomination. I always ask him. I said, John, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah. I mean, it's just a mess. I mean, he would always say, yeah, Doug, somebody's got to do it. And, Judge Rader, back a couple of years ago, we were in a conference, and Judge Rader said, guys, we need a hero. That John is, to me, that hero. John doesn't need that position. Yeah. The position needs John. And if, John was my attorney. Yeah. He was my, he run my team, and him and Andre, I introduced him to Andre.
And that's Andre Yanko.
Andre Yanko, former UPS director when Andre had left the USPTO. Yeah. But Andre had me and him had a conversation. A lot of conversations, and how I met Andre was we were at a conference, and I went up to him as a patent owner. I was invited to a conference. It's I try to get invited to these things sometimes, but this was an important one, and I wanted to go. And I met him, and he was on a panel.
This was after he was director.
Yeah, this was after he was director, and I went up to him after the panel, and I said, yeah, I want to. I said, I want to get a picture with you. He said, okay. He said, why you want to get a picture with me? I said, because I said, my patents may not be worth anything, but at least I'll have the picture with the guy that signed them. So he was like, okay. And from that point on, which has been several years, we become friends. So I introduced him to John because I wanted him to be a part of our legal team. And him and John then built a relationship over the years. So it's a long story. I was on the Appalachian Trail hiking in 2024, and this was just after Trump had won. And this is going to sound crazy to people, but I was camping, and it was beautiful, beautiful night. And all of a sudden, I knew Trump had won. I didn't know how he won, but because the stars were shooting stars. So I said, Trump's got to win.
Yeah.
But I was in Dalton, Massachusetts,
I guess you're a Trump fan.
on the Appalachian Trail, and yeah, I mean, you know, that's part of the scenario. But yeah, I was in Dalton, and I actually texted Andre, and I said, so now that Trump's on the in the presidency, who we going to put in as USPTO director? Yeah. He says, I don't know, Doug. Who do you suggest? I said, well, you going to do it? I actually got to, text him back and forth. He said, I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to run. Now, this was in between a couple of weeks, but at that time I asked him, who's he going to run? He said, no, I don't think I'm going to do it this time. So he went and,
did it surprise to hear you that he didn't want to do it again, or?
Well, I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know if you could.
Yeah.
So I just asked him. He said, well, he said, I don't think I will. He said, who do you think could do it? I think at that time they were talking about the Google guy, and that's all I'm going to say, the Google guy. And we all know who that is. And nobody wanted that.
I think the Intel guy, right?
Yeah. And I was like, we can't have that. He said, who do you, visual, Eamon.
For the record, it was Vishal Amin.
Yeah. See, you speak better than I don't.
Yeah.
I'm from the North Georgia.
There's a lot of rumors about him getting
Atlanta area. So, there was rumors about him doing it, and I was like, well, that can't happen. It just cannot happen. And so he went and he said, who do you think? And I said, well, do you have any idea? And he said, I really don't. And so I said, what about John Squires? He said, you think John would do it? I said, I don't know. I'll ask him. And so the conversation began.
Have you ever talked to John about it before?
No. We didn't even think about it before. I didn't ever think about it before the election. But what happened was, John being my patent attorney, and we had just got out of PTAB. It had just hit. Yeah. I was pissed. I mean, I was mad. Because when you have 44 shareholders that are depending on the patent system, and you lost in PTAB to three judges that basically didn't even know your technology. Yeah. Oh, I was fuming, and I couldn't get anybody to really, get moving on it either. So I know we're going in different directions, but I just want to build up to where the USPTO, we had lost it, and John was the attorney, and we had lost in federal court. And John was the attorney, and John was pissed. I was pissed. I mean, when I first...
Were you pissed at John?
No. I was pissed at the system because I was introduced to John from a guy that I brought in to be my CRO of my company, Board Active, back then. And he introduced me. He said, Doug, he said, if this guy takes it, he said, it'll go to the next level, which John is an outstanding lawyer. He is the absolute, I mean, he did all he could do. I mean, he is strong. He knows the laws. He is very small business oriented, and he really worked hard to try to get us to a certain point and level. But John, I was pissed. And I was pissed. And so, getting back to the story of all this coming together, I tell John that, when John first got the position.
So go back. I guess you told. You said, Andre, you'd ask John. So you asked John, what was John's reaction, I guess, when you asked him whether he'd be interested in becoming the USPTO director?
You've lost your mind. So we've it all, I turned it over. I mean, I really just let them work through it. Yeah. There was a lot of people that helped get this thing moving so that John become USPTO director. But the bottom line is Andre went to Trump and said, hey, I got your man. Yeah. Long story short, he said, I got your man. And John, that's how John became USPTO nominee. And
so what do you think made, obviously, Andre knows a lot of people in the patent world. What made him think John is the right guy for the role at the time? What do you think?
Because I pounded it in his head. One thing, Andre, we got to have John. And that, once it got in my mind that John was wanting to be there, me and Andre had some pretty good conversations about making it happen.
Yeah.
But Andre was always secretive about his conversations and such. But yeah, Andre, and then there was other people involved. Don't get me wrong. There was other people. It took some effort to get John in as the USPTO director.
Yeah.
But the main thing I say is you just got to start that conversation with the right people, and if you want to get things done, and that's what I wanted to do.
It's an amazing story because obviously there's probably people who dream about having a role like USPTO director and are kind of built their whole lives about it, and then John wasn't even thinking about it, and you kind of put him in touch, and it kind of randomly happened. Do you know? Like, I guess there was some coverage of that. There's other people up for that role.
Oh yeah, there was some people up for that role, and there was a lot of friction out there. And you remember those if you saw the social media, LinkedIn and stuff. There was a lot of back and forth, under the table type stuff going on. I mean, everybody was pushing their own person. And even some of the inventor groups were very ticked. And so,
well, that's an interesting, I guess, aspect to that because, you're an inventor, you're an entrepreneur, you went through like the worst of what the patent system has. And you're like, I vouch for John. He's a good guy. But some of the inventor groups were saying, well, he's a former blah, blah, chief IP counsel of Goldman Sachs. And he's testified on behalf of like, patent rights. What do you think ultimately helped him get the role? Like, what do you think ultimately? Why did the Trump administration ultimately?
I mean, Andre had a lot to do with it. There's no doubt.
Did John know Howard Lutnick as well?
Yeah. He had worked with Lutnick down at Cantor Fitzgerald. Through 9/11, which is a tremendous story. I don't know if anybody's ever heard it, but it's a tremendous story between those two, and how they work together and they become friends and things like that.
Okay.
So
he already knew.
He knew when Howard got nominated. Also, then that just kind of 360'd everything.
Yeah, it worked. If Howard Lutnick went to Treasury, it might have been a different story. So
but and then we can get into the conversation about how that's. To me, how that's working between the USPTO and the Department of Commerce. I went to John and I was very appreciative, and John invited me to the USPTO, his swearing-in ceremonies, both of them. And I went to the Department of Commerce, which is where the first patent office was. And it's incredible. It's an incredible piece of art. Yeah. And I was just in awe being in with the other people that were there at the ceremony, and Howard was there and things like that. But it was just a tremendous to see John get sworn in as the USPTO director. Yeah. When I first hired John said, Doug, he says, I don't take cases unless I make millions. And I was like, well, I hope he takes my case. Because I thought it was good patents. He read them and thought everything was good. And so, it just goes back to the guy, just a quality. Absolutely fantastic, smart man. Like I said, the USPTO is so fortunate to have him as their director. Even though he's ticked off a lot of people, he knows he's got to fix it. He's got to reform that patent system for anybody to be able to get paid.
Yeah. So I want to get back to it, but I want to kind of tell a little bit about your story. How you became involved in the patent system. You grew up on a farm, so can you tell us like your start from there to?
I'm the son of a pig farmer.
Oh,
my dad had hundreds of pigs. At certain times of my life, it was just a constant rollover. You every Monday morning, I remember getting up at 3:00 in the morning to load trucks to take the pigs to the market.
Did you think you'd become a farmer?
No, I knew I wouldn't become a farmer. That's something I didn't want to do. At the time, but I didn't. I was as a child. I grew up that way.
Yeah.
But the thing that now that I've been in the patent system,
Yeah.
Farmers are massive in the patent world because if you think about it, a farmer has to fix things immediately. They have to. They can't run down to the hardware store back. In the days you're a long way from the towns and things like that. So you have to repair things. Yeah. So and farmer is one of the more inventive people out there in the whole marketplace. My dad has made several invention. That as a child growing up we used, and I have them hanging on my wall because they're a reminder, not only that farming is good.
And did he file for patents?
No. He never. He should have. They were some really cool inventions that he did. Like one of them was me.
So you're saying even after your experience, he should have filed for patents, or
back that was pre-AI. Back to before Obama signed off on killing small businesses, but. The ability for a farmer to be able to make things as they need it. Yeah. That's critical in the farming world. But, that I didn't ever think that I would be a patent owner for sure. Yeah. I didn't ever think I would invent anything for business. When I was going down the highway and taking my son to college, and I saw a beautiful billboard, and I didn't know what it said. I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know where it was, and I didn't know anything about that brand. Yeah. But I saw that beautiful visual and creative. We all have done it. You look at a billboard and you're like,
what was your first business? I know you started a business during the .com.
I started out as a landscaper.
Oh,
yeah. I was in school, and my high school football coach was played under Bear Bryant, and he thought he was Bear Bryant when he coached us. He was massive, and he just thought he was Bear Bryant. And anybody knows Bear Bryant from Alabama will know what I'm talking about. And so he taught us never to quit. That's the thing about it. Never quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. Fourth quarter. Everything's fourth quarter. You win it in the fourth quarter, and we won. We were good. During our era. I think we lost 3 or 4 games max, but it was because we were prepared. And in the fourth quarter, we outperformed because we were in shape and we were just ready to nail it. So, as we got into the landscaping after school and stuff, I got into landscaping. I was doing all kind of work. I worked with a guy that said, Doug, if you ever want to, he said, you're a real good sales guy. If you ever want to get into selling copiers, let me know. He says, we'll be glad to hire you. And it was with Canon USA, which Canon was a good brand. But I had like 20-something employees, tractors, trailers, this, that, and the other, and everything. Well, I did a job one time in the middle of summer. It was 103 degrees, 20-something, 3 loads of sod to lay and bulldozers and things like that. And it was hot. and we worked our butts off. Yeah. It was a guy that, it was a pretty wealthy individual in Atlanta. And at the end of it, I got paid, and then about 3 days later, his check bounced. Oh, his check bounced, and I had enough. Yeah, this was after several years. I had enough, but when I got that, I think it was $100,000 check that bounced, and it took me 2 weeks to collect it. Yeah. And I had to threaten the guy to put him in jail in order to get it. I finally got it when I went to the sheriff's office and was going to write a warrant. I called him up and said, "Hey, get him there." But anyway, long story short, I called up the guy, Canon, said, "Okay, I want that job." Yeah. Wow. And so I took that job, did it for a year or two, worked with old Savin copiers, which was liquid copiers. I sold those, and then a company called Danka bought them out. Yeah. Danka Business System. It's a long story short. Danka bought them, did really well with Danka, salesman of the year, blah, blah, blah. So that's when I knew I could sell. So I wanted to do my own thing. Yeah. And then back in the 80s, they didn't have Office Depots and Office Max and things like that. They used to do these little catalogs, and those catalogs was from a company called B.A. Parr out of Nashville, and it had everything in there, and you could order right there. So I went into business selling pens, pencils, and things like that to businesses. Back then, fax machines were just coming on, so you could fax before it was illegal. You could fax out all kind of orders. Documents and get orders. Orders were coming in like crazy. Yeah. And so I made a lot of money. But back then, if you don't remember because you're too young, but I do. But they did not sell computers except IBMs. And then all of a sudden you could do built to spec computers.
Yeah. Well, my dad actually used to build computers and sell them in his house in our apartment. Yeah.
And so so companies were like, in the catalog they had computers, leading edge, Packard Bell, these all types of leading edge. People were buying them like crazy. But they also were like, well, can we change things? And I'm like, I don't know. But I ended up going into a company in Alpharetta called Pionix. I worked with those guys to do built-to-spec computers. And so I started working those. And from that point on, I went into retail. Yeah. I said, well, if, all this is building, and so I got retail stores. And then all of a sudden I was going to franchise. And so I had like 3 stores going to 5. Yeah. And a guy come out of Atlanta. He worked with Cisco. He come out of Atlanta and bought me out. Okay. Oh. He said, he come in and he said, Doug, I want to buy your business. I said, I don't want to sell it. I said, I'm fixing to expand, going 5. I'm going to do franchise. I already went to an attorney to get a franchise agreement, starting to do it because I had the process down. So they said, well, anything's for sale. So he said, I want to come in and meet you. Brought his attorney. He said, get your deal done, and I'll get my deal done. Put it out on the table. He had an envelope. I had an envelope.
What year was this?
1998. Okay. Ish.
So this was a good time to sell that kind of business.
Great. Yeah. Absolutely a great time to sell because I'd done the volume and stuff. And so I didn't, he opened up his envelope and it was 4 times more than I wanted. 4 times more. Yeah. And I'm like, I think we could do this. I never opened my envelope. Yeah. I never showed him my envelope. Matter of fact, I still have that envelope. It was sealed. And so it's just a good memory. So I didn't work for a couple of years and retired and played and I started hiking, which is something that we'll talk about.
Yes. So then you were saying you were driving with your son to college and you saw the billboards, and this is how your second.
Well, the second one was I was in the supply chain inventory control business. And I went to, I was working with a company that my dad worked with, and they had one warehouse and they didn't have an inventory control system. So I developed and built that for them. I was a Microsoft certified C&E engineer, but I had another guy help me with setting up that inventory control system. And they went from 1 to 14. But when I did that one, the guy out of Minnesota come in and saw what I had done, and he actually bought me out of that. Okay. So I didn't really have anything going.
So you had the golden touch.
Yeah. Well, and so I went to work with another guy that was in the supply chain and got him up and going and rolling. I didn't own it or anything. I just helped him in a position. And then I got that guy up to a point to where after a year and a half, he went and sold it. And he went to Costa Rica, and I ain't seen him since. But then I retired. Not retired, really. I was, like I said, hiking and doing things. But then I was taking my son to college, and I saw that beautiful creative. I didn't know what it said, didn't know what it meant, didn't know anything about it. And the family was like, gosh. I wasn't going to turn around and go up to the next intersection and come back and look at it. Yeah. So I said, there's got to be a way to bring that back down to the end user, the someone that could interact with that brand. So my patents were to create a visual and bring it down to a mobile device so the customer could engage, move, measure, and retarget with that brand. Yeah. So it's called Visualmatic technology.
Yeah. So it's a great idea, and obviously. You saw others using it, but what made you think of Was that the first patent applications you filed at that point? What made you, I guess?
Well, I didn't think about even patent. I went and did research on it.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on research. I had my sons doing things like doing geolocation. Send me the geolocation of this billboard as you go up the road and things like that. So I knew that it would be geolocation based, but I didn't really have a clue to what the invention was going to be. And I wasn't even really thinking about a patent.
Yeah.
As I built my company, I started a company based on that. Yeah. And that's the thing about it. I started a company, Eli. And when I started that company, I had visions as a small entrepreneur, and I was thinking, wow, this could be big. I did marketing studies, and I went to, I even went to New York to talk to some Wall Street guys and made them sign NDAs and things like that on what it could do, and they were like, Doug, this could be massive, because at the time there was nothing like it. I mean, there was, it wasn't, there was geolocation and there was, notifications and things like that, but the ability to take a visual and bring it down to a mobile device so a consumer, could take that. Well, I took that a little step further. I made it an audience-based platform, so that if you're in like a stadium, a brand could geofence that stadium and also interact with those particular app users. I knew all this was coming down to the geolocation and apps and things like that. So it took me years to get that mentality. I actually went to an out-of-home company. I had an app myself, and then the out-of-home company said, Doug, nobody will put your brand, your name on their brand. They won't do it. They just won't do it. So as I was driving back, I called up a friend of mine and I said, we're going to totally change this whole mindset and concept. I went from an app to a software company. Yeah. So we, on the road, I said, we're not going to make it. Yeah. We won't make it. So we started developing. I developed it 3 times, but I needed money, and I needed money bad. So I started asking friends for an investor.
Yeah.
And friends became investors. And those investors, one of my first investors said, Doug, you need to patent this. And I'm like, I don't know. Well, I said, why do we need to patent it? I didn't even really know what a patent meant. I really didn't. Yeah. I knew that it was an invention, and I knew that you got a certificate, and, and back years ago, you got paid for licensing agreements and things like that. But I just did not know what I was getting into. I really didn't. But I met up with some attorneys.
So your friend, convinced you, the investor convinced you to get those patents. You started that process. You obtain those patents, and you're still trying to build the business. I guess at what point did you realize, hey, somebody's using our technology and we'll need to enforce this? Or what made you come to that conclusion?
You're when you're an inventor, and when you file a patent, it takes back. I think it was 2016, 2015 or so when we started writing the patent. But the thing about it was we really worked from 2014 until 2016, which is about 1.5 2 years to even get the thing filed. Yeah. Me and my attorney would actually sit down because we needed to vet it. We worked hard. We worked very hard. We would go and whiteboard it, and because what I knew is he needed to understand what my technology was. That's a big thing that happens with patent attorneys, patent prosecutors, is they don't really understand what the pure technology is. So you have to do a deep dive. An attorney has to have a great relationship with that patent prosecutor in order to make it really viable. But we did all the right things. We worked it. We got it down. He understood my technology. He wrote the patents. He sent them in to the USPTO, and we sat and waited. And waited. It was like 3 years before I got my patent. Now, in between that, they did all kind of back and forth. And the patent examiner was a 30-year veteran. She was someone that turned down 24 out of 25 patents that came her way. She just wouldn't give them.
Yeah.
She worked with the big boys. She worked with the Microsofts and people like
and
that.
do you know, did it end up in one of those business method art units? Was it like a difficult part of a patent office?
It wasn't that it was difficult. It was just unbelievable that a small inventor could get that patent.
Yeah. You must have had a really good patent attorney who got
Well,
that
I thought, at that time, I thought he did. Until you go to federal court,
Well, yeah, you could.
you go to PTAB, you don't know how good or bad your attorney is. I've always said, your patent is only as good as your first lawsuit. And there was mistakes made that people brought out.
I guess so. What you obtained the patent? I guess what made you kind of think like?
Well, when I obtained the patent, it was at our Christmas party.
Yeah.
In 2019. So this was.
By the way, did you meet with the examiner yourself, or no?
No. He kept me away from the examiner. I would have blew it probably, but yeah, let me talk to him. I mean, there's some things I could say, but I don't want to get the guy in trouble.
Yeah.
But we did some things, so I knew what was going on. But so we at the Christmas party, I actually cried.
Yeah.
I did. I cried when I received it because I was so overwhelmed with emotions and such. But looking back on it, I thought those were tears of cheer, but they were not tears of cheer to be.
Yeah.
Those are tears of unhappiness because I had no idea.
Because at that time you thought it was like you got the patent.
I thought I was brilliant. I thought I'm an inventor, and so we kept filing more and more and more and more patent.
Which is a good strategy, obviously.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were building our portfolio to where I think we had 14 or 15 patents.
Okay. So then, what made you kind of decide to, start trying to enforce your patents?
It got out into the marketplace, and because we were marketing it, and we did crazy, stupid things. Looking back on it, like send out letters to corporations saying, "Hey, we want to talk to you about doing a license agreement."
Yeah.
I cannot tell. I mean, we sent at least 200, and we're not. I'm not talking about us as a company. I'm talking about legal groups because that was the strategy. Okay, let's send them out. Not threatening. We're not threatening them. We're not doing anything like that.
So you found an attorney. So I guess you had your product and you saw that people started using your inventions. I'm guessing you found a lawyer who said, "All right, we should."
Well, we was part of our legal team.
Yeah,
we found lawyers and things to go after.
And did they warn you? Like they said, those lawyers, did they say, "Well, this is a hard time to enforce patents"?
No. This was before it was hard.
Well, 2016.
This was like 20. This was like 2020-ish.
No, this was still hard. I mean, you said after AIA got passed in 2010
Yeah.
at PTAB, so it was already hard. I mean, Section 101 was a concern.
Right. This was
PTAB. But those attorneys, what was the expectation? You thought like you'd send those letters and
we thought we would get some people to want to do license agreements, and we were trying to do what a business does. Hey, let's get it out. We didn't threaten. There was no threatening of litigation or anything. I told them, do not do that. That's a bad strategy.
Yeah.
I said, let's just try to let them know. Number one, let them know we're in the business. Number two, let them know that we're out for we want to share our innovation, which is what an inventor does.
So you kind of want to work with them together. Yeah. And did anybody respond positively?
No.
No one.
Every one of them said, don't contact us again.
Okay.
Most of them said, or they turned it over to their lawyers, and we got letters back saying we don't agree with it. We don't want to do it. Now, these were nice letters. These were not threatening letters. These were in any way, form, or fashion. We were surprised.
I understand. Like, I'm surprised your lawyers were surprised, but because this is kind of these days is what you expect.
These days. Now, yeah, this was back, like I said, this was back in 2020-ish, 2021.
But I guess from your perspective, putting lawyers away, I guess, you've been an entrepreneur, small businessman in your life. I'm guessing you're the kind of guy like, you pay your bills.
Yeah.
And now a company's using your technology and you tell them that and you have a patent and they're like, and they just refuse to pay to license your technology.
No, they refused to even talk.
To talk, yeah.
I'll tell you this. Let me tell you
yeah.
what I did. Google.
Yeah.
We talked to Google.
Yeah.
We were on the phone with them. I'm not going to say who the attorney was, but we were on the phone with Google, and my attorneys were on the phone with them. And Google told us that, Doug, you got great patents. You got great technology. He said, but we're not going to license you, and we're not going to buy you. That's when I knew there was trouble.
And did they say why?
Oh, they just said, we don't want it. We're just, that's not our, we don't do that.
Yeah.
We don't license, we don't buy nobody. And that's when I knew there was big trouble. That's when I went, oh, wow. And I knew we were in trouble.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's the smaller companies who are more willing to license.
Yeah, we went after mid-sized companies too.
Yeah, because we're more practical, I guess.
Well, our strategy was, okay, we'll go after mid guys, and maybe they'll do business with us.
Yeah. No.
Same response.
Yeah, and they probably had their attorneys who were telling them not to do that. So I guess what did you then kind of decide? You don't want to threaten them. What did you decide? All right, we got to
go after an infringer.
Yeah, we got to go after
an infringer.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we picked out a mid-size infringer. I was kind of excited.
Yeah, which is a company everybody is. You don't mind me saying
No, I don't mind.
It was Foursquare.
Foursquare.
Right? Yeah, so I guess it's a company that people know, but obviously it's and I guess your attorneys decided, I guess, time to file a lawsuit, right?
Remember, my attorney was John Squires.
Okay, so that's actually part of the story. So. Can you tell us, so you had attorneys who were doing the licensing. Was John Squires involved in that, or did he get involved after?
He was involved in that.
Okay.
He was involved. I mean, he was my main attorney.
Okay.
And he had help, no doubt. He had other attorneys that he was working with, but I mean, John was, very, very into the. Okay, I've seen John's work. It was unbelievable, the work that he did in order to prepare for all of this.
But was he concerned about like the PTAB and Section 101? I know when he saw your patents, he said they're strong patents, but was he concerned about?
He was concerned about, he wanted to stay out of PTAB.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to stay out of PTAB. We was in federal court. We went to federal court, and that was a disaster. The judges up there, they actually added a judge for our case, and it was his first case.
Actually, before we get to that point, obviously, like litigation, one thing about litigation, like a smaller company like yours, it takes a lot of resources, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you were calculating that. Like, what was your thinking about, like,
Well, we went through litigation funder applications where we went and talked to John. We talked to many litigation funders, and back then litigation funding was, 101 and PTAB was absolutely their scare tactics. They would not. It had to be a very, very, very tight case.
If it's like a hint of 101 issues, they don't want to take it.
They didn't. I had big litigation firm. One of them is, I'll tell you, GLS Capital told me. GLS said, Doug, he said, you got great patents and such, but he said your patents. He said we're just.
They're in Chicago.
He said he said we're afraid of 101 and PTAB. He said otherwise we'd write. Patents galore. Anoop and all those guys. I know them all. Yeah. I know all these guys. I've been to these big conferences, and they invite me to go speak on panels. I just got out of a panel in Houston.
Yes. So I guess, back to your story is that you were, I guess when you started doing litigation funders, at that point you kind of knew there might be some issues, but that didn't discourage you kind of from.
No, because I had John.
Yeah.
John knew what he was doing. I just turned it all over to him and let him handle it. Yeah. And we filed the cases. He had an associate that worked with the cases. That he led. It was under another group, but he actually, was a teammate with this guy. And we went and filed the case, and we thought it was a pretty good case.
Yeah.
And like I said, we got to a judge in Delaware who was a first-time judge.
Yeah.
Which
is not a great.
It was a horrific because he had never done a patent case. Yeah. Never done a patent case. Matter of fact, he come up with something stupid, and if he's on, I hope he hears me. It was stupid. He said that it was something Homer Simpson did in one of his they're cartoon episodes, and everybody's like, that don't even make sense. He didn't even understand our technology, and
well, it's just the fact that a judge would say that kind of dismiss your kind of creativity.
Well, what I did was, and this was the controversial part of this. What I did was I said, we had come down a point to where they threatened PTAB. We're going to go PTAB. But I said no. I said we're not going to be afraid of PTAB, but we're not going to give away our company. We're not going to do shared licensing agreements with no payments and things like that. So I because there was some formalities in the case itself, I actually dismissed the case.
Oh, you dismissed that case. Okay.
I got it dismissed.
Okay.
So they did not get a judgment, and we didn't get a judgment. I just dismissed the case, but it was because of a flaw is they didn't actually answer the suit.
Okay. So did you file? Was that the end of a litigation?
Well, they then the next day, because we let it went, the time limit. They had one day. They wanted to do all 5, but they didn't have time. I played the game with them. I run the clock down so that they couldn't do all 5. They only did 2.
Yeah.
And so
they did 2 what?
They did 2 patents.
Okay.
Yeah. PTAB.
Oh, PTAB. Okay. And so you were having this battle at the PTAB.
Well, the battle with the PTAB started because they filed the next day.
Yeah.
And then all of that started. And John didn't like that fact that, we didn't go along with the, some of the shared licensing and things like that. So that was one of our arguments.
So that's funny, but it's like you had a stronger opinion. You're like a guy like you, and I know inventors and entrepreneurs. It's interesting. I guess you thought you had a stronger. you had to like listen to your gut, I guess, on that one, right? Yeah.
I know when you're in the battle.
Yeah.
And that's what it is a battle.
Yeah.
You got shareholders that are pounding on you. Doug, what are we doing on the litigation? Because investors do not fund lawsuits. They just don't do it. And when it comes to company, they don't want to be a part of it.
So is your company, and at any point in time during that, you're like, I shouldn't even gone down this road of enforcing patents. Like,
I should have not gone down the road of getting a patent.
Yeah.
I should have went fast and first.
Yeah. And so you're going through this whole battle. That's when I kind of got to know you. And, a great part of your story is that you actually reached out to the last director of the USPTO, Kathy Vidal, to kind of share your perspective with her about what's going on with the PTAB. Can you tell us about that?
Do you really want my opinion of that?
Yeah, well, just tell us about that meeting. She did give you an hour of your time, from what I understand. So how did that go?
Yeah, we've had several conversations.
Yeah.
And I knew I was in trouble when the first time when we talked, she said, I was trying to get to know her and say, hey, I'm a hiker, blah, blah, blah. Because I think she does hiking stuff like that. She said, just get to the point.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, this is where we are. But she listened.
Yeah.
And I was wondering why she was listening. And she called me up. She would actually call me up 1 or 2 times to ask me questions.
Yeah.
But I found out, that was during her 6-month. If you remember, she had a 6-month tour where she was getting all this information from all these small inventors and things.
But what did she say anything when she heard your story? Did she say, like, was she empathetic? Did she say?
Oh, I mean, she was,
or kind of just,
she was just, listening, but she really didn't have a response or anything like that. She said, we'll look into it and things like that type. There were some words, but basically it was, we'll look into it, blah, blah, blah. But, like I said, that 6-month tour that she did, she did that with many of the other inventors. So it wasn't just me. The whole inventor world, she did what she did, but it wasn't to help us. It was to stab us in the back. Yeah. She stabbed us in the back because she used a lot of things that we told her. And this is not just from the inventor world. She used things that we expressed to her in order to help her big tech buddies.
Well, like what is an example of that?
I mean, cases. I mean, I know one inventor who had a case who confided in her, and she sealed the files and actually fixed it so that she couldn't even, the inventor couldn't even talk to USPTO anymore. I mean, it was the small inventor with her was her resources in order to help the big guys.
Well, yeah, I guess, to be fair, and obviously
I'm not.
I've known her for a while.
I have no respect for Kathy Bottle. She's absolutely the worst director, the worst director that USPTO has ever had.
Worse than Michelle Lee.
She left John a mess.
Yeah.
She absolutely left John the absolute worst scenario where she had over 1 million cases sitting because she didn't enforce.
That's an examination. And we'll get.
She did not make an examiner's work. And so therefore John come into a backlog and
Well, I was going to say is that she was part of an administration that was not very patent friendly. And she was the director who's
she was horrible.
She was down the line. And I could imagine she's hearing your stories and she might
she's
sympathy,
got me,
but she has to.
I'll tell you that she's got me blocked on LinkedIn. I know that, and that's okay. People, if she's listening, I hope she knows that people send me her junk and stupid comments on LinkedIn.
But I know because I know from what I've heard is that she wasn't fully happy about some of the stuff that the last administration was doing. And maybe that's why she even left early.
I heard somebody say there's no politics. In patent office. I'm thinking baloney.
Well, yeah, there's politics in everything.
Baloney and everything.
So I guess go back to your story. So they filed these PTABs, and I'm guessing they did get invalidated patents.
Yeah, you had 2 of them that they had 3 judges that had no idea. Again, no idea.
Did they? The other side tried to invalidate them under Section 101. Did they survive that?
They just said they were unpatentable,
okay.
And so they just threw them out. I didn't at the time, which John corrected this, thank goodness, an inventor couldn't go in front of the PTAB.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, lawyers are afraid for an inventor to go in front of the PTAB, most of them. And most people think an inventor's a white coat guy. He wears a white coat and hat and things like that. They think we're dumb, but inventors are very, very smart.
Yeah.
Now, there's some that, can't talk his way out of a sack, but most inventors are very smart. And the thing that I said, why couldn't an inventor get in front of them and explain our technology? If they would have known our technology, they wouldn't have come up with their stupid ruling. My legal team at the time, took it over from, work with that whole process. And they were, it cost so much money to do those things. I think it was almost $300,000.
I'm guessing after those were invalidated, I guess kind of a litigation kind of.
It killed us.
Yeah, it killed us. Yeah,
it killed us.
Yeah,
it killed my company. It killed the investors.
Were they ever open to settling at any point during this time, or no?
No.
No. And kind of probably they knew what they could get. So you go through this whole experience. Mm-hmm. And I ask because I talk to a lot of inventors on Clause 80, it's like, I'm done with the patent world. Let me forget about this. But you've obviously stayed involved in it.
Well, I knew that I'm even here because the word needs to go out. I'm not the only inventor that this has happened to by far. I think there's 15 to 20,000 inventors that AI's killed over the years.
Yeah.
And we've got to change the system. We've got to reform the system.
So what do you think are the changes that need to happen that?
Yeah, some of the things are, I'm trying to get it so that patents are awarded after they've gone through PTAB 101, all those things, all the courts, not federal courts, but through the PTAB, and make PTAB a part of the examination process. So I want all that before the award of the patent.
Do you think there's a role for a PTAB? Because obviously,
there's award, yeah.
Like, not every examination is going to be perfect. There might not be priority they found. Do you think you should be able to challenge, I guess, let's say you find new prior art or something after the fact, and you get sued. Do you think somebody's allowed to be able to bring that up to the PTAB instead of having to go through litigation?
Nope. They got to go once it's awarded, it goes to federal court. It'll be put into the Federal Register. The Federal Register would know that they're in there. There's a new patent. It'll be up to the companies to go in and examine. It'll be up to the companies to go in and start fighting. There'll be like an 18-month period in order to fight that. And once it's awarded after an 18-month period on the patent, Then anything after that goes to the federal court.
And, it's interesting because obviously I know John, he knows a lot of patent IP, but his practice was broader than that. He saw all kinds of things through his career. What was his impression of how a PTAB was operating? Like, what was his, saying, that part of the government? What was his impression when you were going through that?
I mean, he was afraid of the PTAB. He knew it was messed up.
Yeah.
And
because he saw the statistics, I guess.
Well, I mean, he just knew that it was a challenge.
Yeah.
But he really didn't fear the PTAB in reality because he thought we had really, really good
strong case,
and that we would be able to win. What he didn't know is that how these judges were so intent on killing businesses.
Yeah. So after he saw what happened to you, what do you think his impression was of the PTAB at that point?
We got problems.
Yeah. And I guess it kind of runs in. So obviously he's been doing a lot of, the USPTO obviously is, even before he stepped into his role, they were doing some stuff to kind of rein in the PTAB, give settled expectations. And then he came in and he kind of, he took it on himself. He didn't want to pass the buck. He said, I'm going to decide if things get instituted or not. I guess any thoughts about what he's doing and kind of that?
Well, during the confirmation period, there was a lot of back and forth. I can't expose all the conversations for sure, but him being a part of
back and forth between whom?
Between me and him.
Oh,
yeah, and other folks, and he was in the foxholes with me.
Yeah,
and him being in the foxholes, he knew what it was like in order to go through the PTAB and the federal courts and why we lost and all the things that were wrong. He knew this. He saw the system. He sees the system.
Yeah.
He knows that it's not a fair system.
And what do you think he saw that went wrong? Like what was from his perspective?
I mean, the whole system was wrong.
Yeah.
The Constitution specifically says that as an inventor, we're to be protected.
Yeah,
there is no protection. Injunctions are gone. I mean, that's common sense. You've got to have an injunction in order to make these people come to the table to do license agreements. There's no incentive. The only incentive is the efficient infringement. It's kind of like the Panoptics case. Look what happened there. Half a $1 billion was awarded to those guys, and then 3 trials later, Apple wins.
Yeah,
and with a zero deficit, that's after hundreds of millions of dollars spent on legal fees.
And that's stupid. I guess. What about the patent office? I guess in terms of the what do you think he thinks needs to be done with the PTAB? And
he didn't say this, but I've heard other people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you who said it, but they said we need to fire PTAB. PTAB needs to go away, and that's
and I know how closely. I guess now it seems like they're settling in where there's a role to play for the PTAB where errors were made during examination. Do you think do you think now, I guess, obviously there's legislation that creates the PTAB. Do you think where we are now is kind of a good point where we are with the PTAB?
I think we should, and I think PTAB is just going to be a modified examiner. That's what I think should happen and will happen.
So you don't think any post-grant stuff? I guess, what else do you think, the patent office should be? I guess maybe you could give us, let's say you're the PTO director, or, where do you think that?
I tell John he needs to give me a desk beside him. But, yeah, the thing that his office he just got so much to do. Even he can only do so much, though. Yeah. And that's the thing about it, and he knows that is that if you can only do so much, we've got to have Congress in order to get this thing going, so that innovation starts to get back into America. I do a lot of research, and I cannot find anybody that has won a case in the last 7 years. This has been a small inventor that has gotten patents that has been able to win a case.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I know some who've succeeded.
7 years.
I know some who've succeeded, not maybe, but I guess have successfully been able to. But it is very rare. It is maybe 1 out of 100.
I don't know. I've not been able to. I've not seen a case.
Yeah.
I mean, there's cases where they get the crumbs per se.
Yeah.
But really winning a case for a small inventor, that's I mean,
if I get a patent,
in other words, if I get a patent and I go up against a big company and I win $200 million.
Yeah.
It's just not out there.
Yeah. I mean, in reality,
And that's the patent in the patent world. In the patent world, you just want to share the innovation. And all these inventors, that's all they want. That's all they want to do is share
it's
it.
fair to say, I guess from your perspective, it would have been better off if you never even ended up in the litigation if you could have just licensed your technology in the first place.
I would have never filed a case.
Yeah, yeah.
If I would have known what I know now, I would have advised my lawyers, no. And I think, it's not to say that they didn't know what they were doing, but as a business owner and a CEO and a founder of a company, knowing what I know now, I would have never exposed it.
So you mentioned in the beginning about it, some of the crazy ideas that you bring to John, and it's too crazy for John. Can you I guess share what are your ideas?
Me and John have great conversations. We laugh a lot and things like that. But in our texts and back and forth and stuff, one of the things that I said was, John, you need to shut the USPTO giving out patents down. He's like, Doug, you have what is wrong with you? I said, look, I know that the gist of the conversation was, I know that you got a job to do, you got revenue and things like that, but until a patent is worth something and you get this thing fixed, shut it down. I said, what you'll do then is send a message to Congress and Senate and the USPTO and the world that, hey, we got to fix this thing so that patents are valuable.
Yeah, and I think you've been pretty vocal, I guess, on about talking about how entrepreneur should have faith in the patent system. What do you think needs to happen? What is it that needs to happen for you to say it's a good idea to get a patent to a small entrepreneur?
I've got 4 ideas, and I shared one with John prior to him going into the USPTO. But I've got 4 ideas that are really, really good.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna file for them until the system's fixed and reformed. I call them my deep 6 secrets because I'm going to take them to my grave. But these are one of the big things that I can advise entrepreneurs and people that are now getting patents. Number 1 is you find your patent prosecutor.
Yeah.
And number 2 is, it's a team. It's not individuals no more. You got to have a patent prosecutor. You've got to have a patent litigator, and you've got to have a patent litigation team to be a part of your patent idea that's coming out to the marketplace. If you do those, and I know it's hard for a patent attorney and a patent litigation attorney to work together, but a patent litigation attorney needs to see this before it goes to the examiner.
I mean, what needs to, if you had to pick one thing that needs to happen with the patent system for you to have faith, hey, now that this happened, I'm going to file patent applications for the other ideas you have. What is the one change? If you had to make one change, if you had a magic wand?
You've got bills out there now that need to be passed.
Yeah. So
There's some
Section
bills
101.
Yeah, all those bills need to be passed, but the biggest thing is injunctive relief.
Injunctive relief. Okay.
We've got to have the injunctive relief.
Yeah. And that's a Restore Act.
One of the things also that you asked me a while ago about, what other thing did John say I lost my mind on, is I told him that the patent system needs the federal government to back when a patent is awarded. Yeah. Just like the IRS, the Department of Justice, and people like that, they need to back an inventor when he gets a patent saying, okay, that patent is this strong, and we're going to back it, and if you infringe, we're coming after you.
Yeah, that's interesting. And obviously there's stuff like that. I've had inventors who've told about maybe if there was some kind of criminal...
No, they're not going to be no criminal. That's a civil matter. Yeah. It's a civil matter.
But they need to at least stand by their work, because obviously if a PTAB invalidates a patent, then they're on the side of a PTAB, and that is kind of
it's a mess. It's the whole system is a mess. John's cleaning up the mess, step by step, piece by piece, bit by bit, day by day.
And it's interesting you mentioned the legislation, because obviously John, he can't single-handedly pass the legislation. But everything that he does now could be undone by the next administration or next director. And it seems like, do you sense that's what the PTO is going to focus on kind of helping the legislation?
Yeah, the USPTO office is going to do what they can do, the max. Yeah. My motto to John is push the limit.
Yeah.
Push the limit.
Well, I guess, last administration thing that I was kept hearing from Capitol Hill is that USPTO wasn't supporting their legislative efforts. And I think, obviously, if Trump wants something Congress to pass, it helps a lot. So, at least where we stand now. But
there's a lot of work going on in the background. One of the things that I know doesn't work is walking the halls of Congress, because I've done it.
Yeah.
I've walked the halls of Congress. I've gone into these congressmen, senators' offices. You meet with the staff and those staff members. Yeah, they act like they're interested, but they don't care. I mean, they get 100 people in a day. You're just another one of those hundreds.
Well, yeah. I mean,
and so that's why I said when this happened, when I lost my patents. And I called up, I was on a couple of inventor conferences and things like that, and they had no idea what to do, how to do it, or anything like that. And I actually told a couple of inventors, I said, I'll do something about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not individually, because it takes a lot, and I've had a lot of people help me through my 188 project.
Yeah.
I call it the 188 project.
It's Article 1, Section 8.
Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. And what I'm trying to do is get that Constitution back as our main focus. And I keep telling John, push the limits, because it's all about the Constitution. Yeah. If we don't have that to protect us, we have a constitutional right in order to innovate. And the front of a patent is very, very clear.
Yeah.
But it's not happening.
To you, what will count as success over the next 3 years? Like, what will say, hey, this has been
if you can file a case and you actually get movement on that case.
Yeah, like a settlement or injunction. So it seems like to really make the changes that you think are necessary, there really will need to be legislation passed with the USPTO.
Oh, there's going to have to be a combination of USPTO. John's going in front of the Congress here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And that's a very important meeting, and he's going to be able to explain and express to those guys that we need their help. I mean, we've got to have congressional help, or like I said, you get another administration come in and they'll undo everything that he's done.
Yeah, and I guess he's going to be testifying before the House IP committee, and I bet there's going to be some congressmen there who thinks.
Oh, there's going to be some fights and arguments and yelling and screaming, and the big tech folks are, they're screaming right now because of his director's discretion and all the things that he's doing as the director. Which one of the things that one of the recent rulings was that he does have that power. They hate it. They absolutely hate it.
And I know, obviously. You've met Howard Lutnick, and John knows him, and once in a while you have a creative idea from Howard Lutnick. I mean, do you have any concern about that the administration might go in a different direction on patents?
Well, my concern is that everything's big. They talk about all the big guys.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm really pushing is, okay, don't forget about the small guy. Don't forget, I know you guys are saying patents are incredible, but you gotta reverse and reform this thing so that it does have meaning, and it doesn't have meaning right now. It's and the fact that one of the former solicitors and director of PTAB, me and him got into a conversation on LinkedIn, and I actually had him to admit the fact that he agreed that the patent system right now is a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah. And that's, I think you're referring to Tom Krause, who's was in the last administration solicitor, and obviously he's not a fan of patents, but it seems like you and him share the opinion that
it's friendly respect. We have varied opinions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
I think you want to end up in different places, but I think where it is now, the patent system, I guess you have some opinion.
Yeah, we got a lot of differences, and that's he's on the opposite end. He's not a fan of the current administration for sure, but my message is okay since you were in control all those years and you wasn't just somebody, you wasn't just a number, you were at the top. Why didn't you do something about it?
Well, I think he doesn't like the things that are happening now. He liked the things that were before. But yeah, I guess, as we were wrapping up, I want to kind of give you one more chance to kind of anything else you want to share about something that you've known John all through years. You've said he's been in your foxhole with you. You're his wingman. Anything that you think people should know, about John, about patent office, about where this is all heading? Anything you want to share with Closet?
John Squire is absolutely. This is a calling for him. He doesn't have to do this. He's a big time lawyer. He didn't have to jump into this. People should appreciate him, and they should respect his fact that he's in that position, and the fact that he's even giving it an effort or trying, and that they need to support him. You got to give the guy a chance.
And what do you think his ultimate goal is? Like you shared where your goal is
to reform the system so an inventor like myself can get paid. I send him to give him a reminder. I sent him pictures of me and my investors, my main investors, my first 5 investors, spent millions of dollars on a small company that they thought was going to take off. It should have climbed the ladder, and we should be a multi-million-dollar company right now. But because of our patent system, it failed.
Yeah.
And I send him a picture and remind him all the time, John, you have only a limited amount of time. Go in there, keep going, keep building. I encourage him to keep changing things. I said, your time is limited. There's only going to be so much time that you got. Make every day, every hour count when you're in that office. Do something to help, because when you get out, it's over. All you're going to do is go to these conferences and talk about it. Enough talk about it. So we've got to have somebody to do something. And if you do everything that you got done, when you finish, you can walk away and say, I did all I can do.
Doug, thank you so much for coming on Clause 8, telling your story.
Yeah.
It was great to have you finally on and sharing your insights about everything you know. So about John becoming director and what he's trying to do there. So I appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll keep having our friendly debates. Go for it.
I appreciate you allowing me to come on. It's been refreshing. It's been fun.
Yeah.
And, I hope it gives some insight on where we're at and where we're going. And I really think that, the patent system is changing, and I hope it continues to make it so that inventors all over the world can feel good about it. But until the things change in the patent system, just be very careful on what you do. There's a lot of people out there doing propaganda type stuff that you really want to beware of. They're out for your money.
Yeah.
Inventors, they're out for your money, and you've got to be able to decipher that. You cannot allow people to manipulate you, saying things like IP. You can finance IPs from banks. Banks do not finance IP.
Yeah.
They'll use it.
Yeah.
They'll use it as a revenue security model, but they do not.
Yeah.
No bank will do an IP. You got to be very careful on all the people out there that they need to make money, and I understand it, but you cannot. The unknowing and prospective inventor must be always on beware. And if any of them out there needs help, I'm on LinkedIn. Please follow me, and I'll be glad to help.
All right, Doug, this was great. Thank you.
Thank you.